Let's go over a handful of tips for writing an extraordinary teaching philosophy statement. The first tip is to make sure your teaching philosophy statement expresses your personal identity and attitude when it comes to teaching. Identify who you are as a teacher and infuse that attitude throughout your statement. When you finally sit down to start this thing, start by just getting ideas down as they come. It's so much easier to go back and revise later than it is to get that first draft down. So just take notes as your thoughts occur. You can organize everything later. And if you are really experiencing some serious writer's block, there are some ways that you can trick yourself into writing. One is to use purple font or some other odd color. When doing this, it may start to feel like what you write or type isn't to be taken too seriously, that it's not the final draft, so it's okay to just type whatever. It's low stakes and really doesn't matter if it makes sense now or not. You can also use an odd font type or use all caps or really large font, all simply to get your brain to just let go and to not worry so much about what comes out on the screen or the paper. Make sure you realize who your audience is. Research and address their teaching mission. Also, make connections to your discipline and your research. Your philosophy of teaching is going to be intimately tied with your field, so let that show in your statement. And avoid technical terms. This isn't a research paper, it's a personal statement. Allow it to take on that personal feel by avoiding highly technical words, which brings us to making your teaching philosophy statement personal. Use first person. Again, this isn't a journal or research article. And make it reflective, not prescriptive. And what do I mean by that? Don't make claims or say how teaching ought to be. Rather, talk about your own philosophy, your own perspectives and beliefs. Talk about your own experiences and give examples of those experiences. And remember to be true to yourself. Be honest rather than trying to paint a picture of what you think someone else wants to hear. Don't be afraid to include areas of improvement, but also be confident. It's perfectly okay to mention mistakes that you've made and how you learned from them and then went on to be a better teacher. Don't rehash your CV. Whomever reads your teaching philosophy statement will almost certainly also have a copy of your CV, so don't waste their time by duplicating information. Plus, the teaching philosophy statement should focus on how you teach, not what you've taught. And if you don't have a lot of teaching experience, then focus on how you intend to teach. What types of teaching strategies or classroom activities or learning assessments would you like to develop and implement based on your conceptions of teaching and learning? And finally, make your teaching philosophy statement short and concise. 1 to 2 single-spaced pages is generally recommended. Any longer than that, and you run the risk of someone not even bothering to start reading your statement. As I have said before, as brilliant as your teaching philosophy statement will be, and it will be brilliant with all of these fabulous tips, your audience just doesn't have a ton of time to read about your thoughts on teaching. You can make so much more impact and so much more of an impression by wowing your reader with a short, well-written and concise statement before their attention has a chance to wander.